welcome to my channel. Well, today I'm going to work on the next block in the Underground Railroad series. Today I'm going to work on the basket block. Just a little history of the basket block. It became very popular in the mid-1800s. Quilt historians have not figured out when the first basket block may have been created, but it's half square triangles, rectangles, and squares, so it's another one like the churn dash and shoe fly block that may have come about a little earlier, just because it's a more decorative block that can be made out of basic quilt pieces, right? But they don't know the exact decade to be able to pin it down. So sometime in the 1800s, but it became really popular in the mid 1800s. So this block plays a part in the Underground Railroad because obviously the escapees would carry a basket with provisions, so the little bit of food they were able to gather or their tools or things like that along the way with them. And supposedly if they saw a quilt with these blocks on it outside of a home, it meant there was a place that they can stop and kind of replenish that basket with some food and supplies. So that's the significance I could find for this block for the quilt. So that being said, let's get started sewing this block. Okay, so for my basket block, which I'm using sort of my own sizes, if you have the Quilt in a Day book, Underground Railroad book, and you're following those sizes, they're going to be different from mine. So that's fine. You could do it either way. But I'll tell you what my sizes are. So for some background pieces, I have one 3.5 inch square. I have two 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles, and those are going to be part of the block that don't need to be modified. Then I have, this is the bottom of the basket. I have a 3.5 inch square. I'm using two different reds. Okay. This is also going to be part of the bottom of the basket. So I have a 4.5 inch background and red. And these are going to make two half square triangles. So we're going to do the 2 at a time method with that one. And for the rest of the basket, we need 8 half square triangles that are 3.5 inches. So I cut two 8.5 inch squares, one of my print that I'm using for the main part of the basket, and one of my background. So two 8.5. These two are 4.5, which you could do 4. I just like to make it a little bigger and trim down. This is a 3.5 inch of the red that goes with the basket bottom. Background 3.5 inch, and then two 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles. Okay, so I'm going to set most of this aside for now. I'm going to go ahead and sew this the 2 at a time method. So I'm going to sew on both sides of the line 1/4 inch. I drew a line down the center of the background, and that's going to give me my two half square triangles for the bottom part of the basket. And these are going to be trimmed down to 3.5 inches square. Before I trim this, cut it apart, all that kind of thing, I'm going to go ahead and sew my 8 at a time as well. And I drew a line from each corner to corner. So from the top right to the bottom left, and the top left to the bottom right. And we're going to sew 1/4 inch on both sides of both lines. And these are also going to trim down to 3.5 inches. We just need a lot more of them, so it's a lot more efficient to do 8 at a time. So I've already drawn my line, so I'm going to go ahead and sew on both sides. I was thinking about my youngest son this morning when I was changing my bobbin. I was binding a quilt, a Christmas quilt, and I was using red thread because I was making putting on a red binding. And he looks at that and he goes, "Why do you have red in your basement?" And I said, in the basement. And here he was talking about the bobbin, because my bobbin goes underneath my machine. He called it the basement, so I thought that was pretty funny. So the basement of my machine. I'll never forget that. Okay, I've got this sewn in all four, or I should say in both directions, but on each side of the line, so 4 different sew lines. So now we're going to cut these apart. And the 2 at a time half square triangle is the easiest one to cut apart. So we're just going to cut this right on the line that I drew. And that's going to give us our 2 half square triangles, which I need to iron those, and then we'll open them up and trim them down. Now this guy, when you do 8 at a time, what I like to do is I don't like to cut on the lines first. I like to cut where there's no lines. So I like to cut the vertical and horizontal first, and it really doesn't matter which way you go. But I cut it and line it up right through the center where the X is, where those 2 lines crossed. So I'm going to cut it north and south, and then east and west. And then I'm going to cut it apart on the sew lines. All right, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there we go. That's our 8 half square triangles. Now we're going to press all these. That's going to take me a minute. So I'm going to go and press these and bring them back. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open them up, and I'm going to press them all towards the darker fabric. Just like that. And then, but I'm actually going to press them with the iron, of course. And then we'll come back. I'll have trimmed all these to 3.5 inches. So trim them down to 3.5 inches. And you'll just need to take your ruler and find that 45-degree line. Put it right on the center. Find the 3.5 inch mark, and then trim all the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and press these and trim them, and we'll come back and we'll finish this block. I've got all my pieces pressed and trimmed down to 3.5 inches. Everything is 3.5 inches square. Here are the background squares, the half square triangles, the 8 at a time, except for these 2 rectangles on either side of this block, which are 3.5 by 6.5. So everything's 3.5. That makes it kind of easy to remember, which is nice. Okay, so now I've got it all laid out the way it's going to look. You just have to sew this all together. So let's do that. I'm going to start with this bottom row down here because it's the closest thing to me that I could easily knock on the floor. So I'm going to get that done first. So I'm going to sew all my rows together before I press anything, just to make it a little bit easier here. Oops. I sew together as much as I can before I have to press, I should say. Alright, now the next row. Now the only piece I won't be able to attach right now is this rectangle, because I need to do these 2 rows, put them together, and then attach that. Before we can attach it to the bottom 2 rows. Well, I hope that y'all have had a wonderful summer. Here in Ohio, my daughter and I ran a few errands earlier today, and we noticed that a few of the trees, which is crazy, it's only August 2nd, but a few of the trees were already turning. Some of them were almost this color red here, in pieces, bits, parts of the tree, and we could hardly believe it. It's only just the beginning of August. But I think that they might be turning early because we had such a mild winter that everything bloomed really early. So I know there's only so many days that they stay, you know, green color before they start changing, but I did not realize that it was that early, that they would be changing already here in August. It's a very strange thing. We were really surprised. So it'll be interesting to see what this winter is like. I have a feeling we're gonna get a chilly winter, which is okay. I don't mind the cooler weather, actually. Now all these half square triangles, the darker color of the print, well, I used a print for both, but if you'd used a solid background, they're all going to be on the bottom left of this, for the basket part anyway. Phew, excuse me. Little sneeze. Alright, I've got all those sewn up, so now I'm going to go ahead and give these a press because this guy can't go on until I put these two together. So I'm going to go take these and press them, and then we'll be back to sew the rest of this block. Okay, so I've pressed all these and I've joined these two sets of rows together. Now I need to join this one, this last 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangle to the top two rows before I can join the top two rows to the bottom row, two rows to make this block. We're almost finished. It's a lot of half square triangles, but pretty simple block otherwise. So now we're going to give that a press, and then we can put this block together. Oh, I'm excited to see what it looks like. So today is Friday, August 2nd. Monday, this coming Monday, which I believe is the 5th, right? 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Yeah, the 5th. The 5th, we're going to work on the next Underground Railroad block. And that's going to be, I'm going to work on the carpenter's wheel. So if you guys want to get ready for that one and cut out your pieces, I already cut out my pieces, and that one has a lot of pieces. So it did take me a little bit, so that's why I thought I would let you know which one we're doing next. So if you wanted to sew along with me, you could go ahead and have it cut out already. Lots of pieces in the carpenter's wheel. Okay. Oops. Move my whole mat. All right, now I just need to join these two together. It's cute. I like the way it's coming out. I ordered the extra fabric that I needed. I think I talked about this last time, that I was waiting for fabric to come for the sashing and border and stuff like that. So that has all arrived now. And so as soon as we get all these blocks done, now I can put the whole quilt together. So I'm really excited about that. All right. there's our block. I just need to give it a good press now. So I'm going to press that and come back and show you it finished. All right, here is my basket block all finished. Oh, I really love it. It's so pretty. Okay, and then you can see most of my blocks there behind me. So this is block 8 of 15. So we've got a few more to go, but we're a little over halfway done. And like I said, the next block we're going to do is the carpenter's wheel. So I hope you'll join me for that. And I'm going to put that video out on Monday. I'm going to sew that up Monday morning. So I'm really looking forward to getting that one done as well. Then we'll have a little bit of a break for the week just following Monday. And I'll be back the next week with another couple of blocks because I'll be out of town at a retreat. So, but I'm not going to forget about this because I really loving this sew along, and I can't wait to finish it up. So hoping to have all these blocks done and everything finished by the end of August, and we can put this all together. But do have lots of fun things coming up right here on my channel. Besides Underground Railroad, I have a bunch of sew alongs coming up in August. So I hope you'll tune in for those. And if you're brand new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. I love seeing all of you here. Thank you, friends, so much, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.